nobody changing things. Get us changing lanes. Ain't nobody changing things. Get us changing lanes.
Jesus is just a copy of pagan myths. The JesusVSHorus connection. I'm sure you guys have heard this before. It's been around for a long time, and it always comes back in waves. It seems to be gathering more steam again over the last several months. I get a lot of messages on this myself. I did a video a few years ago on it, breaking it down and debunking it. And it's a bit of what we're going to do today as well. Again, a lot of it has to do with the popularity of an old YouTube video called Zeitgeist, where the first third of the video is trying to compare Jesus and several other demigods worshipped prior to Jesus's birth. And in the beginning of Zeitgeist, the narrator makes this claim. He says, broadly speaking, the story of Horus is as follows. Horus was born on December 25th of the Virgin Isis Marie. His birth was accompanied by a star in the east, which in turn 3 kings followed to locate and adorn the newborn Savior. At the age of 12, he was a prodigal child teacher, and at the age of 30, he was baptized by a figure known as Anup, and thus began his ministry. Horus had 12 disciples he traveled about with, performing miracles such as healing the sick and walking on water. Horus was known by many different names, such as the Truth, the Light, God's Anointed Son, the Good Shepherd, the Lamb of God, and many others. After being betrayed by Typhon, Horus was crucified and buried for 3 days and then resurrected. These attributes of Horus, whether original or not, seem to permeate in many cultures of the world, for many other gods are found to have had the same general mythological structure. So this Horus-Jesus connection myth, it has all the makings of a great urban legend. It's a moral tale that shows how one's gullibility can result in one being taken in with serious consequences. But the more you look into it, and really it doesn't take a lot of looking into it, but the more you break it down, the easier and the quicker it all falls apart. It's amazing really how easy it is to debunk this. The problem is so many people don't really take the time to look into it. So I'll stop there for now. By the way, if you're not sure where you are or what you're listening to, my name's KJ, and this is Catching Up with KJ, episode number 71. And today we're going to be talking with a dear friend of mine, and I had him on my radio show, 3-4 years ago. It's been a while, I guess, since I did reality radio. But it's Brother.Theo from Unplugem. And Brother.Theo, I sent him a link a second ago, so I'm sure he'll be popping on in just a second. Now, can you guys hear me? I just want to make sure. I see some people writing in there that they can't hear. So can you guys let us know? Can you hear me right now? Everything coming in clear? I'm just checking the chat room here just to see. Can you guys hear me? Yes. Yes, you can hear me? Sounds good? Okay, good. Thanks. Appreciate it. All right, cool. Well, then we're halfway there. We have audio. All right, so let me go ahead and send that link on over there and bring Bro.Theo in and some of this with you guys. I mean, we're living in really deceptive times. You know, that's easy to say. Everyone says it all the time. But, I mean, the more truth you're into, the more the deception you can see. And it's crazy. And I don't want someone getting ensnared by this lie. I see it perpetuated over and over again. And it really is a trap. And it's trapped a lot of people, not just in the new kind of conspiracy realms. You know, they'll fall for this kind of stuff rather easily. So, all right, let's try this one more time. I'm going to send this link over to Brother.Theo, and let's see if we can't bring him in. Try this here. Brother.Theo has actually just started he's actually started a series on this himself, actually, the whole Jesus-Horus myth. So that's another one of the reasons I wanted to bring him on so we can talk about this. So we'll give him a little bit of time here, and I'll just kind of go into a few things real quick, okay? So anyway, with the Zeitgeist story, one of the first things you can do to kind of break it down is that all the terms used are the same ones taken from Christianity. Like Horus is called, quote, Messiah, and he was, quote, baptized. He had disciples and a ministry. Now, all these terms bias the listener immediately because they're Jewish or Christian concepts. So the Egyptians would never have used those words to refer to their religious rites. The word Messiah had a very specific meaning to the Jews, including being a descendant of David. It wasn't any political figure. Christianity teaches that believers are baptized only once, not simply a pre-religious, like washing type ceremony. So by mislabeling other deities with Christian terms, the listener is deluded into believing the similarities are closer than they actually are. And another one of the easier ways to debunk this, these supposed parallel accounts of Jesus and Horus, are to simply ask for the source text of the myths themselves. Where did this come from? All right. Where are you finding this? All these claims are usually committing the same sin that many atheists claim the Gospels commit. They are more like a game of telephone than real texts. It's just passing one rumor on to a person to another, and by the time it's done, is maybe 20% truth and 80% deception mixed in there. So interestingly, if anyone actually bothers to look up the source texts of this stuff, a very different picture arises. Because for Horus, there's no mention at all of 12 disciples or 3 king visitations or death by crucifixion and the 3-day entombment. In fact, Horus was stung by a scorpion and a magic incantation by the god of wisdom, Thoth. I say Thoth. Thoth, I don't know, purges the venom from his body. And this all happens while Horus was a young child, well before his adulthood and battle for the throne. As you can see, is nothing like that of Jesus's resurrection. So I'm going to pause there because I think Brother.Theo just popped in. Let me see. Well, I think he popped in for a sec. I thought I heard him. Let me check this out here. Oh, okay, no problem. He just wrote me. He's updating his Hangouts, so that's cool. No problem. He'll be in here in just a little bit, and I'll just kind of continue here for a second. Before I do, though, I'll just say, hey, hi, everybody. Hello there in the chat. Thanks for being here this afternoon. I was going to do a show a few days ago. I'd had it lined up for a few days. It was going to be a chat with my Patreon friends. It was one of those things I put on my Patreon, like if you chip in $10 a month or more, we'll do a show and I'll have you on. But I couldn't get anyone to confirm. I had it up there for a few days. I went back the day of the show and I couldn't find anybody to confirm. And you got to set all this stuff up before you start. So, and I've had messages from some of the people saying that they just want to chip in, but they don't want to be a part of any kind of show or be on live or anything. And I get that too. That's fine. So, but this is for my Patreon friends. Even if you want to just do like a one-on-one or like a private type thing or something and chat sometime or whatever, I'm open to these possibilities as well. So if you want to do that, and if you're wanting to do a show and somehow just missed my messages, you can email me at thescariestmovieever@gmail.com, and in the header just put Patreon or Patreon friend or something, and we'll figure something out, okay? But let me jump over here to the chat just for a second and say hi to the folks and see what's going on over here. So, hi everybody, Justin's here. Good to see you, sir. Mimi's here. I got all my great, or not all of them, but I've got a lot of my great mods here with me. Twitwit, good to see you, Twitwit. And K Smalls is here, and Mindy's here. Good to see you, Mindy. HM is here. It's a Russian name. I can never pronounce it. Always good to see you, man. Sheben is here. Hi there. Denise, what's up? Robert E, hi there. Mindy E, Marcella, nice to meet you too. If you're real, I can never tell if these are real people or if these are sock troll accounts. It usually will come out though, eventually it'll come out if it's a troll. Desert Trance, what's up? Jonathan will come on sometime. He says, when we have Jonathan Kleck on, I've asked him before and he'd like to, so I'll bring Jonathan on sometime for you guys. I'll just have to hit him up and set that up sometime. Effie, good to see you, Effie. Ty, hi, how are you doing? Ty, I think it's TY. Jadester's here. Good to see you, Jadester. I have Brother Theo here with us now. David Jordan, good to see you. David Warner. Scott Combs says, I'm not real. He's not real, I guess. Juju Rocker, what's up? Marcella says, I am not a troll. Good to know. I can't even say your name. It's Foth. Okay, thanks. That's how you pronounce it. Lovely Amelia, good to see you. Viewer, hey there. All right, man. So, hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, man. Real good. Did you get all your updates taken care of and everything?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Man, that's okay. I know how it gets. It gets complicated with this whole Google Live stuff and all the Skype stuff and all that as well. But I kind of started off a little bit already, and I was telling the folks what we're going to be talking about. And I went into a few of the ways you can easily start debunking a lot of this. And it's just if you start looking into it, it's all you have to do is look into it. You and I talked on the phone earlier about the danger of stuff like this, these deceptions, especially in the age of YouTube, where I was just as guilty of it when I was a young YouTuber, a younger YouTuber around almost 10 years ago, I guess, or 8 years ago. You'd see one video on something you had a question about, and immediately you kind of think, well, that's the truth. We get lulled into that same thing we have with television. If it's on TV, it has to be true, right? So, and I know that it's really knocked a lot of people off their paths, this whole JesusVSHorus thing. When I saw Zeitgeist back when I lived in LA is when I saw that. That's before I was even woke up. It's a grand deception because it does give you like 70% of truth. It talks about Zionist banking systems and a lot of these New World Order tenets and all that are true. But then it throws in the whole JesusVSHorus thing, and that actually had me depressed for about a week. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. And, I didn't know to really look more into it back at the time or research more. But how'd you come into this? And why is it that you wanted to start this new series on this subject?
Well, first I want to give all honor, praise, and glory to the true and living Most High, our God, the Father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Amen. And would you want to lead us in a prayer, by the way?
Sure. We can always do that. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask in the authority of the name of the Lord Jesus Christ and the power of his name, that you would please, Father, forgive us for our sins and please give ear to our prayer petition. Father, we just ask right now that you would guide our tongues, guide our hearts, guide our minds to be in alignment with your will for your children who are listening to us in these last days and perilous times. We just ask that you would bind to us the 7 fruits of the Spirit, as told by the prophet Isaiah, and bind to us the anointing of Ezekiel, Isaiah, Elijah, Jeremiah, and the Messiah, to lay hands on the sick and cause them to recover, to cast out devils in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ and speak in new tongues. Father, we ask this in the power and authority of the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, as we touch and agree according to your word in Matthew 7:7, Isaiah 55:11, Numbers 23:19, Matthew 18:18 through 18:20, and Matthew 21:22, just to name a few. We touch and agree, and we call it done. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, the Son. Amen.
Amen, and beautiful. And thank you, Brother.Theo, for that. Good. That'll get us off to an even better start right there. It's always good to make sure we give praise to the Almighty and make sure that he gets the credit, and I've even mentioned in my own work recently, I'm trying to bring that more in because I had left it out for a long time when I started the kind of research I do. I was always a believer and I always had my relationship with God, but I was almost undercover about it to a degree because I was trying to reach the world more by, talking to the world, using the world's images and things like this. But, as the years have gone on, I've come out more with my real faith and all this. And because there's no more time to hide, it's just getting to the point where it's all blatantly out in the open. Time definitely feels like it's, like it's speeding up.
Yes.
And now's the time to really put the word out there. So I'll go ahead and ask you again, man, what was it that, how did you find out about this? Maybe it was Zeitgeist as well. And what is it that kind of prompted you to start this new series on this JesusVSHorus myth?
Okay, if I had not had the experience that the Father allowed for me to have, where I got to meet and greet these entities that folks believe are their ancestors, or folks believe are benevolent spirits or guides or whatever, it was when I made contact that I knew I couldn't trust what my linear logic would lead me to. Had I not had that experience, linear logic, being a person that trusted in academia, I believe that the academics who came before me and the scholars and teachers, left us the truth, by what they thought the truth to be, by what they experienced. But that is not the case. Most of what folks, especially young folks nowadays, who hear, from young Pharaoh, or who hear from, who may look back at the old Dr. York videos, or Nwapu, or those who are into Yoruba, any form of looking back to the ancestors or getting these spirits to help you out, they see these as better and more viable forms of spiritual systems to tie one back to the source. They see these as better forms because the zeitgeist and academia and many theologians, brotherhood member theologians, are pushing to keep this narrative that Jesus Christ is a copied story, or the story of the Messiah. But let's deal with that first, because we got that issue, then we've got the issue of the name starting with the J. But folks want to say it's a copied story, and because it's a copied story, it's therefore counterfeit. We have proof. We have all of this history. I believed this for years. Believe it if experience and practical application had not shown me otherwise, because it makes
Yeah,
perfect sense.
it's easy to fall into because especially you're really good with the Apocrypha and a lot of the lost books and everything with the Bible, but it's that once Rome got a hold of the followers of Christ, right, Christians, and they really distorted it and perverted it. I mean, I see so many people just not trusting God or not believing in Jesus because of all the lies of kind of modern day pagan Christianity. So it's a miracle that anybody can find Jesus
Yes,
to me
yes, yes.
nowadays.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. It was did not believe. My mother is not a Christian. My father was not a Christian. If not for grandma, she would sit around in a chair and read a daily word and read the Bible and listening to the preacher that gave the number. Come up with that garden variety black experience of going to church like a lot of folks had. So I was given the freedom, quote unquote, you think it's freedom, or the liberty to look around. And when I looked around, I followed, that's why folks kill me when they leave them type of comments. I followed the trail of breadcrumbs that's left for all of us who go the way of academic study to find out supernatural things. It's really foolish to think that, you can put God in a box or in a book and understand him after you've read some things. To even think that you can understand whether God exists or not after you've read some things is foolish. You have to have experience, and supernatural experience teaches you the fastest. So that's what had to happen for me.
So you have had same here. I've had so many supernatural weird experiences because God talks to us in a way that we'll personally understand. I believe that, and even I'd mentioned on one of my last shows that I finally have gotten back to the Word. I'm reading it every day now, because as much as I had a relationship with God and I've had him in my life and I see these things he shows me, and he gave me the numbers 111 since 2012 and I still see him all the time. I did a video, it's on the channel back in 2012 about it, still trying to understand it, but this is just one of the ways, and he talks to everybody else in their own ways as well. But even like you said, man, once I started reading the Word again, like more for myself, that sounds like, oh wow, okay, and I'm getting a whole new understanding of the Father. Like I really thought that I had most of it figured out, but I didn't, and it's I gotta admit it.
Yeah, well, and I still don't have it all figured out. I'm on a journey, and I'm glad that I'm not wondering about the things I wondered about when I was younger. You know, as we grow, we should mature, but a wise man knows that he knows not. And there's always more to learn in the Lord. So it's not that. And sometimes believers come off this way, and it turns off the people who need the physician. Like Jesus said, a physician is sent to the sick. It turns off folks who would be willing to listen if you wasn't so if a lot of believers weren't so arrogant, like, aha, I got the truth, you don't. I don't feel that way. I came a long, hard way to get this truth. But what I feel convicted on is when I see the young brothers and sisters, especially in my community, who are sold that, whether you want to say Yeshua, Yahweh, or Jesus, they're sold that it ain't none of that. They're not buying none of that. They're not
Yeah,
buying
man, that is a big bone of contention with a lot of Christians is proper name use. There's also the King James Version people out there only, and just more divisions. And that's why fine, okay? I'm at the point, I get it, because it's good. Jesus didn't come to give us hugs. He came to cause division, right?
Amen.
So, and this is what we're seeing. He's coming with a sword. So the wheat and the tares are being separated, and it's an ugly battlefield out there. Even back with the JesusVSHorus stuff, one of the things I remember looking into that really blew me away, because they so casually talk about Osiris's resurrection, but there's a significant difference between Jesus's resurrection and what you read in the ancient myths. Osiris, according to those traditions recorded in the 1st century by the Roman people at the time, was cut into 14 pieces by his nemesis Typhon, and they were scattered all along the Nile. And Osiris's wife, Isis, was able to gather 13 of those to reassemble her husband. And the tale tells us that unfortunately, Osiris's sexual organ was eaten by fish. And so Isis assembled another out of gold in order for Osiris to impregnate her with Horus. So that's just one example. And of course, I've covered the phallic symbol stuff in the past, and we know that that's what the Washington Monument is, Osiris's penis, right? But so again, when we start looking into it and really breaking it down, it's maddening how obviously distorted this whole myth is. But please continue.
No. We need that also, because see, we need that frame of reference, because we don't want folks to think it's an all left brain or an all right brain thing here, and I like how I think the Father's going to make this go. We have to have an understanding of what the scholars said before we can debunk it. So, yes. Now, if I were to play devil's advocate, herringbone with the gold medallion on it, if I was to play the devil's advocate, I would say, well, yeah, but all they did in Christianity was they just took that same story and they just switched different parts out. But this is what nobody says. Well, I haven't heard anybody say it. Maybe you said it. You're definitely one of the sharpest knives in the drawer. But nobody says, all praises due. Nobody says the fallen angels are the ones who taught mankind the mythologies that we say predated the story of Jesus. So if the fallen angels are the source of this information, they are liars. And their intent was to, before the coming Christ, play out these stories that in these last days and times, you and I, looking back at history, when knowledge has increased, like Daniel said, we can look back and we can say, wow, okay, according to history, Jesus can't be true. It can't be real, because we have all of these other examples from Mithra. We got all these different examples of a story so similar. Then of course the Jesus story is plagiarized. I say it's the other way around. The fallen angels, knowing that the story of Jesus Christ was to come, how would they know that? They was rolling with Lucifer. He was once in the heavenly host. So they made sure that these myths, these stories of mother goddesses having these quote unquote savior children, that these stories would come out beforehand. It's just like if somebody knew I was about to drop a movie or about your life, KJ, and then them having knowledge of me about to do that, and make several other stories that would follow along the same blueprint that I would use to tell the story of your life, because they had prior knowledge that I was going to do that.
Yeah,
So
that's a
if they
good
wanted
point.
to paint me against you, or no, not me against, if they wanted to taint everybody against you, they could hurry up and tell this false story, this false narrative. So when the real narrative come out, people looking funny at the real story because they've already heard the lie.
Yeah, there's I'll read this actually, because this goes right along with what you're saying. It's from a minister named James Bishop, and he's one of the guys I researched back when I did my video on it. And this is from different reasons why scholars know Jesus is not a copy of pagan religions. But I'll just read this a little bit right here. He says, as of history, it seems that these pagan religions were really only known by those in the relevant communities, and most of whom had no intention of sharing it with outsiders. Of course, this would leave modern historians in a tricky situation, as we can know only little snippets of who these groups really were. We're talking about the mysteries, right? And what their practices were really like. And as he explains, we know very little about mystery religions. The whole point of mystery religions is that they're secret. So I think it's crazy to build on ignorance in order to make claims like this. He also says, if it's true, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. I'm listening. Continue, please.
So he continues and says, if it is true that most of what we know of these secretive religions postdates Christianity, then why, may I ask, are mythicists, who are people that push this myth, propounding the view that these texts predate Christianity? Why do they claim that the early Christian community copied elements of these secretive religions when they could not have? Professor Mettinger of Lund University and the majority of other scholars in this relevant field hold that there were gods before Christ or before the advent of Christianity in the early 1st century. The consensus among modern scholars, nearly universal, dying and rising gods that preceded Christianity. They all postdated the 1st century. Scholar Edwin Yamuki writes that the supposed resurrection of Attis doesn't appear until after AD 150. And in the case of Mithra, Professor Ronald Nash himself opines that Mithraism flowered after Christianity, not before. So Christianity could not have copied Mithraism. The timing is all wrong to have influenced it. But that's the article. But what do you think about that?
I love when we get folks who are well versed in history and archaeology and science to defend the faith. I love it. I love it. Okay,
Me too.
That's what that's what some folks need. The God's Not Dead movies. They kind of hokey. Lightweight jamming, blah blah blah, whatever. But part that I drew from watching those God's Not Dead movies is that there are a lot more of those scholars than we think there are. Okay, who have written excellent books for the linear, logical thinking individual who needs that type of argument to believe. Now, I think that in conjunction with experience, what's missing here is folks having real relationship and experience with whatever it is that they are a part of. A lot of folks want to claim to be a part of New Age, or they believe this or they believe that. They're not serious with it. They've had no experience with those entities or with the supernatural power behind that belief system. They've had no experience with it whatsoever. They like how it looks. They like the little beads and trinkets that go along with it. They believe that it gives them an identity and a group to belong to, but they're not serious. Get serious with the practices. Then you can have an experience to go along with your linear, logical understanding of things. It takes both to see what's right.
Yeah, that New Age stuff is very much like they're ornaments on a Christmas tree, the way I see it. It's all very pretty and enticing, and but following those kinds of ideas, especially the idea that we can be our own God and all this stuff, is it's a lure, and it leaves them free, unfortunately, to basically live a very bohemian lifestyle. Do as thou wilt. Do what you want to do. It doesn't matter because you're your own God. And
Right.
it's so incredibly dangerous. It's amazing to me how they're combining all these old New Age beliefs and all that, and how I'm seeing it transition into transhumanism as well. Like they're literally trying to help you be your own God through technology and all this as well,
Absolutely. They some bookstores or places where you buy books, you can see where they'll section off that part of the book section as New Age, but most of the time, self-help section. Self-help. You know, Folks want to believe that they can do it all themselves, so that they don't have to answer to any higher power, and that is very attractive in a self-centered society. Our blessed millennials, the young nieces and nephews out here, they have been misled into being very self-oriented and self-centered. So self-help and the new age is perfectly tailor-made for this new society, for
Oh
this.
yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, which I was just going to end by saying, which really isn't new at all. It's nothing but the old world system of the Babylon mystery system spread out for everybody. It used to be secret, like the article said, it was a secret thing. Now these things that were once supposed to be secret, when I say these things, I mean, the knowledge of these other deities and belief systems and things, your chakra points, how to work crystals, all of these different things. These used to be secrets, and the lure to get you into the brotherhood was you could learn these special secrets. Well, that's an attractive lure. I'm going to give you
Oh
mine if it
yeah.
makes no, you know.
No, you're right, man. That makes me. It goes back to even the Freemasons, right? And like I've talked about in the past, but myself, you, a lot of other researchers out there, we're showing people the mysteries from the lodge, right? Like you don't have
Right.
to go to the lodge anymore to know the mysteries. And think of these people that have no clue about this stuff, that meet other Masons and go in because it's a business opportunity, they're usually told. And then after through the apprenticeship, the first couple of years, they're told about all the symbols. Like, see all the gas station symbols? That goes back to the lodge. And they're like, oh, wow, my world's been opened up to me now. I see it all. You're
Right.
right. That's the same thing. And when you're talking about the millennials and how they're so the world's really kind of teaching them to be self-indulgent and all about the self. I just posted a video on my website a couple days ago called, I think it was called "The Prettiest and Richest Little Boy is Also the Most Filthy and Disgusting." I could have changed.
Okay.
But it is about this kid, and and here's another thing I've noticed: there's a big boom in Instagram quote models, young kids that
Yes.
are cute kids, but they put themselves out as models, right? And he's one of
Right.
them. His name is very interesting, by the way. It's Christian Burns. So I think there's
Wow.
yes, Christian Burns. And y'all can look this up if you haven't seen it. You don't have to see my video, but you can go look up Christian Burns VidCon, because he went to the YouTube VidCon thing, and he was trying to get in illegally. So he started having it out with these security guards, and this kid's like 15. He's telling them that he's rich, that they need to listen to him, that they have no money, they're ugly, they should kill themselves, stuff like this. And there's kids behind him cheering him on. These are the children of the New World Order.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
wow. That's something. Little Lucifers, little Lucifers, little Lucifers.
little Lucifers. And then all the tranny stuff happening. We got little Baphomets running around as well.
Mm, mm, mm. Beauty and arrogance, beauty, arrogance, and pride. But and all of this relates back to the Jesus versus Horus, because at the end of the day, you have to pick one side or the other. We'll work out the thing on the name, in due time. But the first thing is you got to choose the Messiah, or you're gonna choose the liar, hellfire, one or the other. There's no in between. And so, Jesus versus Horus, the series is to represent that, making that choice. There's lots of choices out here. In reading the comments from this new flood of folks who came through from the spell and spell video, for some reason, I done seen all kind of beliefs. I read a comment from a guy who said he believes in Jesus, but he don't believe in the Old Testament. I I read a comment from a sister who said, well, all these things are lies. That's why I know that we got to do it all alone. There is no God, there is no this, there's no that. One guy said, why would I look at a video Jesus versus Horus about these two fictional characters, blah blah blah. And then another guy, Poe Child, bless his heart, he said this. He came from a totally linear logic, left brain way of thinking. He was like, well, you know, uh, uh, it's impossible for something to possess you, because two things can't occupy the same space at the same time. Goofy goobers. But this is what
Yeah, dangerous.
this is
That's
this
that's
is
a
what
dangerous ideology.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But at the end of the day, it's going to land you on one side of that fence or the other side of that fence. You're either rolling with the Messiah, who knows his voice, and his his sheep know his voice, and he knows theirs. Okay, so he's not going to ignore his sheep who may have been miseducated concerning his voice and who may never learn another language. Some of them have a problem with English as it is. Okay, but at the end of the day, you're going to either pick Messiah or hellfire. And all of these other philosophies, anybody who comes up any other way is a thief and a liar. That means anybody who tries to get uh, knowledge of self, who tries to get salvation through information. Okay, anybody who tries to get a supernatural knowledge and understanding of the occult, any other type of way is a thief and a liar, and you will be rolling with thieves and liars. The spirits that empower uh, uh, people who are involved in these things for a time are the deceiving spirits who will set those individuals up, lead them so far away from salvation that by the time the spirit turns the trick on you, okay, because there's always a trick bag, it's a bait and switch. By the time the switch part comes, you're already so far removed away from the Messiah, you don't feel like he will accept you, and you don't feel like you can ready your mind to accept him.
Man, that's so true. And even as you're saying that, I'm noticing the YouTube logos flying the rainbow flag now, right? I guess there must be some gay thing happening or a celebration. I don't know, but it makes me think about, I've had some great messages from homosexuals, emails, and also personal messages asking about Jesus, asking about God, and they always seem to have the same experiences. They're really turned off by God and Christians and faith because they've dealt with too many Pharisees, is what I tell them. I say, you're dealing with Pharisees, haters, the law, the people who are all about the law. I tell them, look, I'm no little angel over here. I've had a really crazy rocky past and a rocky life just because I've had to test the limits of so many things. And then I get burned, you know what I mean? So, but the thing is that Jesus saved me, he saved you. It doesn't matter what your sin is, he's got you covered, unless it's blaspheming the Holy Spirit, right? But or turning away from your faith completely. But so I try to tell him that. But yeah, it's unfortunate because there's a lot of gay people, I think, mixed into this as well, that the salvation's right there for them, just like the rest of us, right? It's like no sin's greater than the other, but they're turned off and they're afraid, and they don't think God's going to love them or care for them because they're living in a form of sin,
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it is his will that none should perish. Now, the Messiah did not come to take away the law, but to fulfill it. And we are to exercise our liberty in him, and not think that through any sacrifice, or obedience is better than sacrifice. We can lean the Father's ear more toward us than the next man can, who may not be able to make that same sacrifice, or whatever the case may be. So yeah, the rigidity turns a lot of people off, but part of that is because we're in such a flow. You only live once. Even going back to the 70s, BT Express that we use. Do it till you're satisfied. Whatever it is. So it really makes the church look unappealing. More than ever before, that used to hear older folks say, when they saw a little bad toddler or whatever, they said, well, he wants you to tell him what to do. He wants you to instruct him, and there seemed to be something in a child that when that voice of authority spoke up, that child recognized that authority. You know, Nowadays there's no recognition of authority. Even those who should be in authority and are abusing that authority are helping folks to turn away from a desire to have a lord, to have a lordship over you whatsoever, which is going to lead to anarchy. This is what Lucifer wants. He wants
Yeah, and
doing thy will to
go
the
ahead.
fullest. No, I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
No, my bad. We just have a slight delay, so I appreciate you bearing with that, and I'm the same on my end. But you made me think. You're talking about the generations and the youth, and hearing the word or the authoritative voice. And somebody posted a video on World Star Hip Hop a few days ago. I go there and watch some stuff sometimes too. But it was a mother and her mother, like the grandma, and a little boy. And he was probably, I don't know, 3 years old, 4 years old, maybe, could barely talk, but he was throwing up gang signs to his parents or his mother. She kept trying to tell him to stop, and he was slapping her, back in the face for doing that. And that just freaks me out. It's unfortunate that darkness is even reaching the little bitty ones,
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Yeah, but that's evidence that there is a spiritual change. It's not just a societal change, because he hasn't lived long enough in society, you would think, to pick up on certain things. But that's that energy. There is an energy of lawlessness out here now, and again, it stems from not wanting to bow down. The benefit one could have from not following Jesus is you don't have to feel convicted for what you do. You can, whether you want to call him, whatever your preferred term for the Messiah is. The benefit that folks see in not going that way is in I can do what I want to do without feeling any conviction or without my conscience eating me up. I'm not as worried about being not politically correct, but morally correct.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I'll throw this in here for us as well, just to kind of bounce off a bit. This is another small piece here from this article, and it was great. It says, unlike the pagan secretive religions, Jesus is an ancient figure we can actually know about, and what he thought of himself and what he did as a historical figure. So whether one holds that Jesus was really the Son of Man, thus God himself, or just a religious genius of the first century, and I hear that all the time too. He was just, he had the consciousness and all this, right? But we can both glean facts about his life and ministry according to the scholars. Professor Craig Evans informs us that, and so the consensus is, look, Jesus existed. He was Jewish. He wasn't out to break the law. He was out to fulfill it. Jesus understood himself as the Lord's anointed, and that is as the Messiah. And he states that historical reconstruction is never absolutely certain, and in the case of Jesus, it is sometimes highly uncertain. Despite this, we have a good idea of the main lines of his ministry and his message. We know who he was, what he did, what he taught, and why he died. The dominant view among scholars today seems to be that we can know pretty well what Jesus was out to accomplish, that we can know a lot about what he said, and that those two things make sense within the world of first century Judaism. Sanders goes on to say, explain that miracle healings and exorcisms are part of what we can know about Jesus, and think we can be fairly certain that initially Jesus' fame came as a result of healing, especially through his exorcism. And a former prominent and widely respected New Testament scholar once opined that few doubt that Jesus possessed unusual gifts as a healer, though of course varied explanations are offered. Although he apparently considered himself the heavenly Son of Man and the beloved Son of God and cherished far-reaching messianic ambitions, Jesus was equally reticent about these convictions. Even so, the fact that after his death and resurrection, his disciples proclaimed him as the Messiah can be understood as a direct development from his own teachings. And there's that. So let me see. There's one more thing I wanted to share with you. In many aspects of Jesus' life, he was unique. This was evidently so compelling to those in his day that they followed him, and often to their deaths and in their own sufferings. Today's scholars continue to be surprised by Jesus. An ancient historian has no problem seeing the phenomenon of Jesus as a historical one. His many surprising aspects only help anchor him in history. Myth and legend would have created a more predictable figure. The writings that sprang up about Jesus also reveal to us a movement of thought and an experience of life so unusual that something much more substantial than just the imagination is needed to explain it. And lastly, C.S. Lewis, who I like a lot, I've got most of his books, best known for his essays on Christianity and for the fantasy series The Chronicles of Narnia, regarding the Gospels, said, "All I am in private life is a literary critic and historian. That's my job. And I am prepared to say on that basis, if anyone thinks the Gospels are either legend or novels, then that person is simply showing his incompetence as a literary critic. I've read a great many novels, and I know a fair amount about the legends that grew up among early people, and I know perfectly well the Gospels are not that kind of stuff." And I love him. If you guys don't know C.S. Lewis, look him up. He was an atheist that converted himself as well. But go ahead. Anything on that?
Excellent. I definitely recommend C.S. Lewis. Um, it's interesting. Some want to claim him, some want to defame him, but everybody got to name him. You know, who is the most hated deity in hip
Yeah,
hop,
that's a good
in
point.
pop culture? Period. Okay, in pop culture, nobody gets clowned. I've never seen Buddha get clowned on Family Guy for being fat. Every other deity is accepted by hip hop as a viable option and by pop culture. Hip hop drives pop culture now. Okay, you know, interesting. One and the same spirit, really, both from the pop of the culture, the father of the culture, Lucifer. But you cannot deny that you got to deal with the Messiah. You got to put him somewhere, because if you're a person who puts any stock in history, there are enough historians who cannot deny that he lived. So then they go there, like you just read, Brother K. They go into saying, well, yeah, we can't deny that he lived, but we, he was just a man, or he was a mystic. Oh, yes, he could manifest, uh, you know, thousands of fish and bread out of 2 and 5. He had that power and ability, and so do you. See, they'll still try to spin it back to New Age. At the end of the day, they do everything outside of denying his existence, because that doesn't work so much anymore. You know,
Yeah,
but
it's. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no. I was just gonna finish the sentence by saying they do everything to try to keep you from understanding that he is your key to salvation and to God.
Well, you're totally spot on with the idea of that. Hip hop really is pushing pop culture now, and it just never ceases to amaze me. Like Beyonce, especially, does a lot of Mother Goddess performances. And Kanye's done a lot of the crucifixion stuff and the Jesus stuff, and I've seen it all throughout a lot of the top hip hop type artists, and it makes me wonder, you know, where are they at with this? Because even Kanye had a guy dressed up like Jesus come out on stage a few times in some of his shows and
That's right.
things like this. It makes me wonder, do they even like, I wonder if they believe in this myth, if these people are doing this because they think Jesus really is a myth. It's a big lie. All the minions believe so they can mock it and ridicule it and whatever. I don't know. I mean, do you have anything on that? You're cut. You're
Take
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, once they get going, the antichrist spirit takes over, like cruise control. I remember that happening to me, where it was no longer any thought about Jesus. I just knew I was dead set against that lie, and that I would never ever believe that lie. And that puts the battery in your back, and the battery is a devil. And that devil, that antichrist spirit, will move you to do all sorts of, you know, near blasphemous and blasphemous things. And so I think that even if they think that they're just going to play along with it at first, but I don't even think that. I don't think so many of them play along with it. I think that if you are cut a certain way, if pride is already the strong man that drives you, you're already driven and ambitious, and you're already self-centered, you're already cut a certain way, you will accept what the brotherhood tells you from the Babylon mystery systems, updated 2.0 version, whatever they're telling them. You will accept it, for the entertainers like Kanye. He's a black man, so they probably told him, well, yeah, the Jesus piece you got is the wrong Jesus piece. Jesus come from horse. So he probably ate it up, being self-centered. Pride. It taps into pride.
Yeah.
So then you just start going. You start going with it. Wu-Tang Clan cutting the head off the again, you can say, well, we don't want to lead people to the white Jesus, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe Jesus was white, first of all. But secondly, when you do something like that, you have to be very clear what it is that you're about. Because you can't do the same thing Luciferians do and then say you're doing it for good. It don't work like that. You can't do it
Yeah.
like
I'm with you on the Jesus is white thing. That's interesting too. I see a lot of people battling over that issue, and probably like yourself, I really don't care, but I definitely don't think he's the image people have in their homes. I mean, to me, that's kind of an idol worship thing anyway. And
Absolutely. because we
Yeah.
know
So
that's a picture of somebody, so we're not worshiping even an idea of Jesus when we use that picture that my grandma had in her house. She had it in her house. Okay, sitting on the dresser with our pictures. Okay, but we know what that was to represent. We also have to take things in the proper context, and not be in a box. If we come from the creator, we got to be able to think more creatively than that. Sure, certainly the people of that time, people of color, no problem with that. All right, but at the same time too, let's not separate while trying to draw together. We're trying to draw together the body of Christ. Okay, Messiah said that who is my mother and who is my brother? That's your family, your kinfolk. Who is my mother and who is my brother but those who do the will of my father? So that's family first, because somebody look like you and their hair texture is like yours don't mean that they not full of devils and won't stab you in the back and do you in. Okay.
yeah.
Chuck D said, every brother ain't a brother because a black hand squeezed on Malcolm X the man. You know, so it ain't all about that. Though giving back to your community and your culture is what a real man should do. Okay, and what a real woman should do. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, it's compounding issues, and it's using what caused the Egyptians to fall to try to make uh the modern day brothers and sisters who are these descendants, in my viewpoint, try to make them fall also by the same thing, which was pride. Pride cometh before the fall. Lucifer fell by pride, and he was much more intelligent and beautiful than I'll ever aspire to be. Okay,
Yeah,
so
man.
we got to stay away from pride.
Here's kind of a fun fact. I'm actually working on a video about this subject, but it's different celebrities and whatnot that were actually prostitutes before they were in Hollywood. And you'll be surprised by a lot of them. But one of them that really threw me off was Malcolm X. Did you know that he was a prostitute in his early years?
I would not be surprised because he was a pimp, and little do people know, my father told me, and he knew pimps, Detroit 70s pimps, 1970s pimps. They used to always talk about this pimp named Delicious that him and my grandma was friends with. Okay, my grandma, she used to she managed the building, and Delicious was one of the pimps there. They knew a lot of things about pimps.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. You just cut
Fingernail.
out. You said they
And
knew a lot about pimps, and then it cut off. Sorry. Go ahead.
okay, thank you. Yes, my father told me that the reason that pimps dressed pretty, filed their fingernails, and styled their hair like women, was because that when the dudes would come from across 8 Mile, okay, looking for a black man, the pimp would take care of that business. He wasn't supposed to turn down any money, so that's why the pimp was dressed the way he was.
Wow.
So that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense to me.
That's interesting. And the pimp basically you're describing a Jezebel spirit in these people as well, just like they're girls, you know.
Absolutely, and in a feminine way they talk even in the movies and stuff. But now I would be interested to know where does that information come from about Malcolm X?
I'll talk to you a little later about it because I'm still pulling it together and I'm trying to make sure I've got all the best info because there's a bunch of them that are very interesting. But again, here's an example. I haven't fully vetted it yet. Just want to throw it out there, but it'll be in the next video and I'll have links below. But careful with news like this. I saw somebody posting a story today. It was about Brad Pitt coming out and talking about elite pedophiles run the Hollywood industry. And I mean, this, lots of people are getting into this and, oh my gosh, wow, he did this, he said this. But when I started looking for the original source, I couldn't find anything that was really legit. It came from some random conspiracy website. So, we have to be careful with all this stuff and really vet it. And there's some websites out there that are known for putting out, crap all the time. Sourcia Fall is one of them, FAAL, puts out just like clickbait type stuff, fake stories. And then I'll see that stuff getting, pimped on all these websites. But I'll let you know more about that later, though. I'm still kind of looking into that one, but I think it's very interesting.
Definitely, because when if you drop something like that, you got to come with it. Okay. You know,
I know.
certainly, certainly you got to come with it. But I will say this I know that, you know, that was part of pimping. That's the part of pimping that's not glorified. Like everything else. They don't, you know, they'll glorify being a gangster, but they don't glorify the getting shot part. Okay. You know, they'll glorify the pimping, but they don't glorify the homosexual part. You know, they'll they'll glorify that, you know, hey, if I throw up these devil horn signs in my video, you know, I'll move up the charts faster. They'll glorify that, but not what they had to do behind closed doors. Okay. You know,
Yeah.
essentially they're behind closed doors, they have to be whores.
So if somebody was
But
to,
yeah,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no. Go right ahead. I didn't have nothing. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so if somebody was to ask you and say, you know, what can you tell me? Is there anything like just write out you can just give to me and prove to me that this Jesus Horus thing is all BS? I mean, what do you think is the easiest way to explain that to somebody? Do you have anything on that?
Well, you know, I probably do because I've been doing this for a long time since I had my experience, and I had to explain to the same people I had told that Jesus was a lie and there was no J and Seuss mean pig and all of this. I had to go back and talk to these people, and you know what to say. The Father gave me some words to say then, but it's really been the years since then that I've come up, has given me some better things to say, perhaps. But you know, truly, at the end of the day, there's really nothing you can say other than you want to encourage the person to have an experience. Okay? Because for some folks, they won't believe nothing until they experience it. You know, experience is the best teacher. So that's what had to happen for me. But because I don't want somebody to have an extra dimensional being uh, talk to them through their skull and growl all around the room, okay, at high decibels and great levels of bass. You know, I don't want a person to have to go through that. So what I would tell them quite simply is, you know, the devil is the prince of this world. So if you follow what this world says concerning religion, you know, you're going to get what the devil wants you to get. You know, uh, everybody knows what the Babylonian mystery system wants them to know, especially the if you went the route of formal education beyond 12th grade. You know, you learned a lot of things that the Babylon mystery system wanted you to learn. So now, if you are a person who realizes that this is a devilish world and that there are, you know, devilish brotherhoods like the quote unquote what we like to call or blanket label as the Illuminati out there, if you believe that and you know that they worship the evil force, whatever you want to call it, Satan, Lucifer, Shaitan, whatever term you prefer, if you know that, then you have to look at all of the systems that they use to disseminate information to you and I as being tainted. And one of those systems is, you know, academia, which tells us or that basically teaches us that, you know, Jesus is not, you know, a fact. And so when we learn from the systems of this world, you learn that King James was a devil worshiper. He had sex with his mother. Blah, blah. You learn those things through these same secular systems, the same systems that don't want you to believe in the first place. These systems want you to be godless because at the end of the day, it's about this socialist idea of this one world order, but the one world not having a choice of religion other than the one of the world, which will be Lucifer. And his way, his religion is the new age religion, magic and witchcraft. And so he'll draw you in through whatever uh, um, costume or whatever image is more attractive to you. You know, for black folks, he might use Yoruba. You know, for some Cuban brothers, he might use Santeria. He might draw some Irish brothers into looking into the way of the Druids. It don't matter. He's going, but at the end of the day, you will read and find these things. Okay, you're not no genius because you could read a book about these things. Okay, you will read and find these things because the breadcrumbs are laid out for you to do so. Lucifer laid them out. He wants you to go this pathway, which will lead you away from the belief in a true and living God and in his manifestation in the flesh as his son. So now, you know,
Oh, go
that's
ahead. Sorry.
no, but that's the, I mean, that's the long and short of it.
I was just going to say, I mean, do you ever think that there's people, this may be a negative way of looking at things, but some people are born into this world that will never be saved, that don't even have a chance. They're put here to destroy. I really wonder about that sometimes. I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
The more I live, the more I start to wonder about that myself.
And I'll throw this out too, just for good measure. I looked it up as we were talking. The book I'm referencing about Malcolm X being a prostitute, and again, once I vet all this, I'll put it in the video, is called Malcolm X, A Life of Reinvention. And the person who wrote it, this is from years ago, they wrote it. They went through like 6,000 pages of FBI files obtained through the Freedom of Information Act and all this other stuff. And they found a lot of interesting things. So like I said, I'll, spoiler alert, people, I'll put that in the video later once I've vetted it and make sure it's legit. But it seems interesting, but anyway, yeah, I know that's a negative way, but like you say, the older I get, the more I live, I see this rise, of course, of like extreme narcissism. I see sociopaths all around me, and I know you do too. And we see them, they're even profiled in TV and movies and stuff. I mean, one of my favorite TV shows, I'm a film student and all that, so I'm still a bit of a geek and I'll watch some of this stuff, was Breaking Bad, the TV series. But when you look at Breaking Bad, this guy was an extreme narcissist. He did really evil things under the guise of doing it for his family and things like this. And I saw a preview for another show coming out here soon. It's the same idea. It's people doing really evil things to other people to make a lot of money, but they're doing it for their family, so it's okay,
Right. Well, just like with wondering whether or not there are some folks who just won't accept, God's will is that none should perish, but even the wicked are made for the day of judgment. So there are people who are made for the day of judgment. I'm the type of person, I like to think, and a great deal from Malcolm X, and I don't believe I would be of the mind that I am of learn some of those things. But, at any given time, we never know that moment when a person is given the opportunity to turn around. We never know if it's the last second before that last breath. If the angel that's assigned to watch over you, to bear you up lest you dash your foot against a stone, according to Psalm 91, doesn't deliver to you that message, that, hey, this is your last time. We never know. And my hope is that folks can turn around, folks we know, like Kanye, Malcolm X, folks we don't know, like the homosexual who may be listening, or the person who's involved in the brotherhood who may be listening. I mean, right. My hope is that we do this for them. I don't care about preaching to the choir. I'm not interested in talking to folks who think they know it all. I'm interested in talking to folks who are trying to find out something. And what I've already found out, I'll willingly share. I'm still finding stuff out.
Yeah, that's a good approach. I agree. I never want to be a part of an echo chamber, which again goes back to organized religion for me. It's basically an echo chamber. You go in there and everybody is basically the same mindset, and that's whatever the preacher tells them, so we just kind of bounce that off each other. We give our tithing, we eat a cracker and drink some grape juice, and then there you have it, and and then it's back to Babylon for the week, and I mean, I see it in my own family, and I mean, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But yeah, man, we're just at that time where I see the breaking point in people all around me, and you and I have talked on the phone, outside of this about some of this stuff as well. And, I see a lot of people, even in the chat, I just looked at it, and there's people talking, some of them that they feel they're losing hope and things like this and whatever. And stay tough, man. Stay in the fight, because most of y'all who are losing hope, you already gave the world a chance, like I did a long time ago. You go into the world and you just live it, and you be that, what the media tells us we're supposed to be. Like us, we're supposed to be man children, these idiots running around in our underwear out in the streets and drinking beer and banging broads and just being dum-dums, and that's what the world wants us to be. And we've tried that. I've tried it. Many of us have tried that, and it didn't work. So, and now a lot of us are, you start feeling lost, and oh boy. But then, the thing is, you got to rectify yourself, I think, to Christ fully. We have to totally sell out to Jesus, is what it is, and even for me, I've held on to some of the world throughout the years too. Don't get me wrong, but it just led me to more sadness and desperation. I just went through a period of that myself. And when I opened the book again and started reading the word myself again, and making sure every morning I at least pray first thing in the morning too, about my day, and say, I'm giving it to you, Lord, please, you guide me and everything. Like, things are so much better now, I'm telling you. So like, I think that's a big part of it, is just fully rectifying ourselves over to Christ, totally selling out to him. And you may lose some friends, you may, not be invited to as many parties and stuff like that or whatever, but you're not missing anything,
Well said. Well said. And let's add this. Let's give folks a dare. Ask the Father. Ask the Father. Hey, reveal yourself to me. That's really the best advice. That is the best advice. Ask for the Creator to be revealed to you. From where you are. You can take my testimony, as a person, and I try to give it because I know what it feels like to not believe, and to think it's no reason to believe. And I really believe that makes sense. That's logical. God is illogical. He defies the limits of your logic. Your logic is limited. I share my testimony because it was an experience. I wouldn't have took nothing else would be able to work. I believed what I read. I believed what I was led to by academically attacking of religion. And anybody who does that is going to be led to the same things. So I say, if you don't want to be led to that same pit, okay, of nowhereness, where you'll be more lost than you were before you began that journey, just ask.
Did your conversion happen when you were still working in the hip-hop industry, or?
Say it again.
Did your conversion happen when you were still working in the hip-hop industry, or was that around that time?
I was still struggling to try to do something, but I had really kind of resolved in my mind that it was over. Because I said if I didn't do something by the time I was 30, I wanted to be done. And it was about age 33 when I had that experience. Okay, if I'm adding it, yeah. It was about age 33 when I had that experience. And after having that experience, it still took me years to digest what it meant. I even went back to New Age for a minute, thinking, well, maybe this Jesus thing has power like New Age people say that it does. But experience after experience with what people call devils, with oppressed people, with sick people, and praying for them, according to who said these signs should follow them that believe. It's been experience after experience that showed me the truth, in testing different things.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I can see that. You're right. There is that whole idea out there that Jesus is Buddha and all this other stuff, but Jesus's death had a radical impact on his disciples, and that's something that no other pagan god can even come close to. It's one thing people forget. Right after Jesus was executed, his followers were suddenly really galvanized, right, from a baffled and kind of confused group into people whose message about a living Jesus and a coming kingdom was preached for the rest of their lives. So it's another one of those things with that Jesus Horus myth that people miss out on. You know, all these other mythological figures can't say the same thing.
Sir. Yes, sir. We don't get from any other deity. You know, I said Horus primarily. I used Horus to represent any of those other deities, but I use that primarily because that's what a lot of folks from my community are leaning toward now. But you don't get the presence of this being a healing figure, of this being a figure about saving the sick, feeding the poor. You know, folks to get off into these ideas, they are the least charitable people that I know. I really have a strong sense of self. Okay, you know, they're not concerned about feeding the poor. They're concerned about reaching that royalty or that level of godhood, and it makes you very, very self-centered.
Yeah, I'm curious about, because, you know, in your community, like you're saying, there is a lot of this, you know, there people are, it's all eyes on Egypt, it seems now. Does that have something to do with the Hebrew Israelite movement or anything? Or, I mean, what is the whole connection between Egypt and a lot of people in the black community, like really kind of moving towards that? And of course, that also connects with this Jesus Horus stuff. Can you talk about that a little bit? You're seeing it on the front lines, it seems.
And it does have to do with the Israelite awakening. Uh, and it's the opposite force opposing that awakening. But it's something that began, like I said in my video, Who is Unplugem? It's something that began when I was in high school, when X-Clan came out. Vainglorious, this is protected by the red, the black, and the green. This is when I first got interested in Egypt. And when folks my age who were in search of an identity, you got to remember, you know, no other group of people on the planet is as confused about their identity and as lied to and manipulated in history. So it was a real big push for knowledge rap, and what they call conscious rap and pro-black rap was the rap that ran things at the time. Now, this is all still part of a Luciferian Illuminati ploy to lure you into pride and socialism and away from God. But as I got more into that hip hop, I got more into want to know about myself, knowledge of self, where did I come from, blah, blah, blah. That's how I ended up joining the Nation of Islam. But what it is with folks today, same desire turned up higher. They want to know why I say it connects to the Israelite thing, because the Israelite thing is encouraging you to relate to and read the scriptures. If you do that, you gonna be all right. Now, and I say that not talking about any of the particular groups, what they call camps. You know, I'm not a part of any group. I understand the theory, okay, and it makes perfect sense. But the Egyptian thing is for those brothers and sisters who want the same thing. They want to connect back, as we all should. Everybody wants to connect back. Who doesn't want to know something about their family tree, or at least go to a family reunion? So black folks had this issue, and the devil in these last days and times is trying to return black folks back to their ancient pagan history by way of this desire to know who we were. We was kings and queens, you know, pride, blah, blah, blah. And so now you look into Egypt because it's shiny, it's all, you know, it's layered in gold. And all it is a way to make you look up to materialism and capitalism, low key, you know, and Luciferianism, to do as thou wilt with your magic powers, with your magical Egyptian powers. Okay, folks,
That's
young,
interesting.
yeah, that's why I mentioned young Pharaoh. Young Pharaoh, like the new guy. He looked like a millennial. He's the new guy. You know, when I was coming up, you had all these dudes that dressed up like X-Clan that would hold these lectures and things, and I'd go to the lectures, you know. Well, now you got this new guy. He's got more of a new look. he's rocking that all-seeing eye and the Ankh, and he's telling us, all these magical things and borrowing things from what Masons leak out to the public and putting it all together. And things that I believe he sincerely learned himself. I'm not faulting the young man. He's a young man. Remind me much of myself. But, at that time, find out about who he is. And there is more aggression about it today than it was when I was a teenager or when my old dude and them went through it in the 60s and 70s. I went through it in the 90s. Now it's back. I'm all to Egypt, because if they point them to Egypt while the rest of the world is soaking up New Age, it don't matter if black people accept New Age or not. Once you get us in Egypt, we're going to accept it, slowly but surely. We want to know more about Egyptian yoga or the magical power of the Ankh and how that charges your melanin, all that type of stuff, bro.
Wow, that's really interesting, man. Yeah, I definitely see that. And I'm really interested in, and I've been looking more into this myself lately, but about, who the real lost tribes of Israel are, and, what's going on in Israel, like Jerusalem right now. And I've put this in videos in the past about, they got the pyramid with the all-seeing eye on top of the state Senate building, or I think it's the Supreme Court in Jerusalem. So we know these are the Zionists. We know these are the, fake Jews, if you will, the synagogue of Satan. But, who were the real ones, and that's the other thing, leads into a lot of the, black community. There's a lot of people that would say that it's really a mix of all of us. What do you have on that? Do you follow my train of thought on this?
Yes, sir. And I think you have and I know I've said this before on different videos in the past, you got a biological Israel, which matters for the sake of history, being historically correct. And then you've got a spiritual Israel, which matters because that is about being correct with the Most High. Now, spiritual Israel.
Look at it. I like that.
Who is my, I mean, I got it from reading the word. My mother, and who is mother says, when they come to him and tell him his physical mother and physical brother are outside to him, but he's busy doing the Father's work. So he says to them, who is my mother and who is my brother? But those who do the will of my Father.
Yeah, that is good. That's interesting.
Us that there is a family is based upon obedience. Obedience is better than sacrifice. So now all of us who obey, we're family. We may be more family than you are with your blood and with my blood, brothers. Spiritual Israel. Okay, now physical Israel, the genealogy boom, the new boom and finding out your family tree and blah, blah, blah. I believe, as a person that's been looking specifically at the conspiracies aimed specifically at me and my community that differ. I look at the conspiracies that are aimed at humankind because I'm a member of humankind first, or I'm a member of the human family first. But I live in a community where I see distinct different. I cross 8 Mile, okay? I see differences. I know different things are sold in the stores, all of that. I know that my water is poisoned because of the area I live in, specifically one of the poorer areas in Detroit. So it's foolish of me to, so why would the devil type of weapon to go against me and my people, and then another type of weapon to go against the rest of the, not be any dispute that for some reason you got to feel like it's more pressure applied? Well, the reason I believe is because from among us find a great deal of biological Israel. That's the way I put it. And I think
that's interesting.
Yeah, and that's the evidence of why Black Americans provided the world with all of the things that they provide the world with: music, culture, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now these potential descendants are feared a little bit more by Lucifer than the rest of the world. That's all. Why would I, if I had a bunch of enemies, why would I pick on any one enemy more than the other? Because I need to put more pressure on them for some reason. For some reason, it's a fear.
They got more guns down there. Some reason I got to be more concerned with them. So, nonsense. But so now again, it takes the full body of Christ. We can't fight the devil with one arm behind our back. We need both arms. It takes the full body of Christ to recognize and realize where where sick people are, and heal them and help them. That goes for black folks doing it for other communities. But the first thing that needs to be done in the body of Christ is certain recognitions just need to be made so we can get up off of that and move forward. But the problem comes in where, folks from my community, I'll speak on that behalf. Folks from my community insert pride into the conversation. I don't think that a person would be as reticent against accepting certain things. My God, we know certain things are culturally different, but it's the way that it's stated. And I do not agree with those brothers who say, well, yeah, we're going to enslave the other races, blah, blah. That is not of God. That's not of the Most High. That's not of Yah. And on top of that, what I don't see from those brothers is love. Where's the love of Messiah? You won't represent anything concerning the Messiah or the Word. He was the Word made flesh. If you're going to represent the Word that is the book, the Word, and stand there and read it and stuff, and not operate out of 1 Corinthians 13 love, something is totally wrong with what you're doing. But I am coming from this. I ain't stupid. Nobody's going to take from me what common sense and experience tells me has to be true. Who else would it be? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Come on. Okay. But so that's where I am on that. And it's like, I'll leave it with this. It's like a tall person. The tall person always go around talking about they tall. That's annoying. Somebody gonna whoop him up. You tall, be tall. We know you tall. Everybody see you tall. So that's kind of how I feel. And unfortunately, all of us don't know who we are. We're still trying to find out who we are. But that's how I feel about it.
Well, on that note, I did a video compilation a while back on the website about the Khazars and that connection to the Jews and everything. Do you know anything about the Khazars, and what are your thoughts on that?
The Khazars and the Ashkenazi.
Yes.
Yes, the two who occupy that seat. And see, a big thing about that, and I want you to come with what you have on it too, because I know you're going to help to fill in some blanks. But a big thing about that is this. Okay, so now you occupying that seat. So now it forces us in my community, once again, speaking for the folks I see every day. Okay, they in that seat, so that can't be the one. So that keeps a lot of brothers and sisters who would maybe dig into the Bible if they felt like it had something to do with them, and if they didn't get all of this slander from folks slandering King James, slandering the letter J, as if there could have been no J or just sound, and they could have lied about it. Nobody thinks they could have lied about those things, but folks are looking for an identity, and the identity that they should be able to at least question that may lead them to the Bible. Somebody's already in that seat. The Ashkenazi and the Khazar. So now you got to look over here. Look over here at the Zulu. Look over here into some Haitian voodoo. In that seat is, it's a real detriment to our community. And it's one reason why you see so much Zionist funding of black issues. Black issues that don't point y'all toward nothing having to do with the Bible or Judaism. Issues that point your black butt back to Africa and some voodoo. That's what we want you. Okay, but
Yeah.
I'll be interested. What you got on it, bro?
I mean, they were the Young Turks. They were the Mongols. They were from Asia Prime or Asia Minor, and I'm into the symbolism of things. So when you look back at old, inscriptions of these people and drawings and pictures in general, paintings, you can actually see them with the Star of David on there, right? The six-pointed star, and this is from way back. So they infiltrated. Yeah, the infiltrated is the idea, and that, I see the connection to the modern-day Zionist with the Khazars. That's the way I've always seen it. and that there really are Jewish people. There really are people from that land, and they're
Sure.
spread all about, though. I mean, my first girlfriend in high school was in Oklahoma, my first long-term relationship for years, and she was half Jewish and half Italian, you know, and they were in Oklahoma, and they were all Baptists, you know, so
But see,
spread
Judaism
for
as
sure.
a religion, you know, that's where I think it's funny too, because you could say Sammy Davis Jr. was Jewish the same way you could say they're Jewish. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, so we got to separate Judaism, the religion, from Judaism. You know, they play it like a race of people. That's where a lot of the issue comes in. They play it like a race of people. You know, all of the Jewish jokes you see any, you know, is always, oh, you know, my people, we've suffered like your people, ha ha. Especially if you watch Sanford and Son or something like that, they'll always show you this Jew-black dynamic, like, oh, oh, we both suffered, blah blah blah. But we talking about Russian or European individuals to be of another genealogy because of conversion to a religion. That's not right, right?
Right. And, you know, I think that I wonder if that's the connection with the Khazars and then the Synagogue of Satan in Jerusalem and all this. I wonder if that has something to do with the way that they do try to keep the black community down and keep them away from their own understanding of who they might actually be. It reminds me of an interview I saw. You mentioned Chuck D earlier. I saw Chuck D on an interview myself. Was talking about this drink called Old English. It's malt liquor, right? Big old bottles
Yes.
of it. And the person giving the interview was making fun of him, but he's like, look, I'm telling you right now, I mean, this is part of a government plot. Like that stuff is poison and it'll make you crazy. And it's in like every little store in the hood you can see. And then right around the corner, you got your abortion clinics all over the place. And then, you know, he said, they're subjugating us, man. They're trying to kill us off. And, you know, there's reasons for that. And he wouldn't go into the reasons because like it was more of a mainstream type interview thing. But I always wonder about that connection to it as well, you know?
Yes, sir. I think that's it. You know, I'm not for folks who say, well, you know, the Jews is behind everything. But that being said, let's look at some things. The music business run by. And the music business is primarily fueled by the talent of who? Okay. The legal system run by. The system makes most of its money and gets its prisoners from what community? You know, it's interesting when we look at these dynamics. The NAACP really funded by who? Nation of Islam really funded by who? You know, at the end of the day, we see this connection that tells me that than a notion, there are enough people involved to call it a conspiracy. You know, it takes a group to get some of these. It's true. Old English 800. I used to drink Old English 800. fresh out
Well,
of
I
high
saw
school.
that. I saw that years ago, and as soon as it was over, I went and bought me a couple bottles of it just to check it out.
So I know you were sideways for the rest of the night, but
Oh, yeah, that stuff that kicked me, man. It was good stuff. I thought, but you know, back then I was always an escapist. You know, I always, you know, the harder the drug or the harder the drink. You know, count me in back in the day. But yeah, I think that's great, and I'm with you on the whole thing because I get tired of. You know, there's bot trolls, BOT trolls on YouTube and everything, and then there's real trolls and there's paid trolls and there's idiots and crazy people too. But I keep seeing on and on. It's the Jews. I get so sick of seeing that because again, that's it's just it's so blanket and basic. You know, we've got to go a little deeper than that, right? Kind of like what we're doing here now. But go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's as whack as saying it's the Illuminati. You know, like folks say, put an address on that. It's the Jews that did what? Okay, because then we can point at other ethnic groups to see what they did. You know, part of my thing is to go as hard on the boule as anybody. Nobody would make me mad for stealing from me and crossing me like my family would. You know, so yeah, you know, the Jews, okay, they're used, or Zionism is used to do A. Okay, then the boule have to be used to do B. You know, it takes a village to rob and pillage. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. It's fascinating stuff to look into. And yeah, like I said, I just, it's not always just the Jews, people really freak out. But again, I try not to even get caught up in that because, like I said, half the time on YouTube and anything online anymore, you don't even know if you're really dealing with a human being anymore. I mean,
You're right.
there's so much
You're right.
weird AI out there, and that's all demonic anyway. I mean, Satan's the prince of the air, right? So,
Right.
you're dealing with demonic entities, electronic demonic entities. You're dealing with people that are manifesting demonic energy, and it's crazy. That's why to continue doing work on YouTube, I had to unsub a lot of different channels. No offense to them or anything. I got tired of being inundated with a lot of this stuff. I look at it enough as it is for myself, and now I have to counterbalance that with personal time in the Word and personal time praying and making sure I'm spiritually balanced. I get lost in this stuff sometimes. I'm guilty of it, but I've been doing this stuff for years, and the first few years it was easier, but as time goes on, it weighs on your soul. You have to have that counterbalance, and you got to remember Christ and all that.
Dude, Philippians 4, um, devil, with the devil uncover this information is for it to drive us crazy. It's enough of it to do so. It's only by the grace of God that we do not, but it can put you in a place of darkness where you're more concerned with the dark things. I think I've at least I've experienced that, to where you have to actively you have to be active at least in balancing that out. You have to be sure that you are, as you said, nothing lifts off the spirit of heaviness like praise, you know, praise, worship, the reading of the word, thinking on good thoughts, like Philippians 4:8, um,
Yeah,
which according to that scripture, you can choose to do. Somebody was complaining one time, and I gave them Philippians 4:8, uh, and then and stressing about different things in the email that they've written. And I thank all of you who write and you know trust to seek out some counsel from somebody like myself. I'm nothing and no one, but I gave this person Philippians 4:8, and you know I paraphrase it. Whatsoever things are good, think on those. And they were like, well, I can't help it. And I said, no, according to that scripture, you can help it. Emotions are good slaves but terrible masters. Energy and motion. We have to guard the thought and guide the thought as well. You guard your thoughts. You guard certain things from coming into your mind. But also, when your mind is stuck in a dark place or in a dark position, or you've digested too much of this occult information or whatever, you know, you have to force yourself to think on. You may not
yeah,
want to, but you need to do that and keep a merry heart. And inject some
yes.
comedy in your life.
That's so true, man. A lot of times people will start taking themselves too seriously, and we forget you got to laugh. And I've had, I've throughout the years, I've met some people that knew me on YouTube, all right, only, and I've
Okay.
actually met them in real life, and they were always surprised because they said people had no idea how much of a goofball you are, and I'm like, well, I was like, that's a good thing. I was like, because the stuff I do is pretty serious, and I joke around a little bit, but I try to maintain the serious attitude towards my work. But I told him, man, yeah, like in real life, I've got to, I enjoy stuff, and you have to have that joy and that love, and look at the good things in life, and take time to get out in nature, or play with your cat, or spend time with someone that you really connect with, or whatever. It's important, and a lot of times we forget that. We take ourselves too seriously, and it just gets muddled. I was going to say, man, we've gone a good hour and a half now. I won't keep you all day, but I'll just, before we go, if you're all right, I'll ask the chat because I just brought it up. If you guys, I'll give you a few minutes. If anybody has questions for either one of us, man, or just something we could both tackle, feel free to put it in the chat. Maybe you can write question first, and then you can write the question out, and we'll take a look at that. Okay. So if anybody has anything, we can do that. I'm looking at chat, and just let me know if you guys have any questions or anything that Brother Theo and I can look into or talk about. And if you guys don't know Brother Theo or don't know his work, please go check out Unplugem YouTube channel, UNPLUGEM, because we've only scratched the surface of this man's knowledge. He goes deep, and he's a great source, and he really goes into his research on the Apocrypha and so many other things as well. The Apocrypha is the Bibles they took out. It was the Vatican, I believe, right, that took those books out. Book of Mary, of course, Enoch, and there's more. But, you know, he's the man on stuff like that. So let's see here. Somebody says, does he know about the gay for play going on in the hip-hop community? I bet he does. I actually personally just did another video on that subject over on the website with new interviews from young up-and-coming hip-hop artists who bailed out just before they cut big deals. There's like 3 new ones, and then I threw in some old school stuff like stuff Black Child put out just to mix it up. But that's absolutely still real. I won't just tell you to go check out my video, but you can look stuff like that up, and you'll find young hip-hop artists on the rise, just on the edge of cutting these big deals, and they're telling these stories, and they're not signing the contract. What do you know about some of that stuff in that community, Brother Theo?
Yeah, I know that, you know, aside from things I've heard over the years, I mean, we see more and more confirmation of that just in the flexible style of dress. That's the term that I've heard that they call it, that you see nowadays, where you got guys with the purses and things of this nature. What was done in the dark now coming to the light, and folks able to see these things, these Babylonian philosophies that were once hidden and secret, and you had to only be a part of a group in order to get the information. Now we're seeing the manifestations of it. Well, a huge part of the ritual ceremonies that these guys have to engage in order to show their loyalty. You know, in order to show loyalty in a gang, you got to get jumped in, or at least you used to back in the real days. So you have to do something, and they will. You know, I remember I had a friend of mine who was a very powerful guy in the city, in the streets, and he knew and heard of a lot of stuff. And so once me and him started talking about the occult and things of that nature, he was a strange guy, as street as he was. He loved to hear me talk my stuff, and he told me this was probably 2005 or something like this. This was a long time ago. He told me that he had heard that some guys had drugged Andre 3000, had sex with him.
Sorry, man, you cut out right on the good part too. You said he had heard, and then it cut out. So go ahead.
Okay. He had heard that Andre 3000 had been, that they drugged Andre 3000, had their way with him, and taped it. You know, Atlanta and Detroit, you know, this guy back up to Detroit. There was no World Star Hip Hop. Okay, this was the type of thing that was in a Source magazine. This was all word of mouth thing. Now, all these years later, I just recently saw an interview. Somebody from, I think it was from No Limit, was talking about how they do that. There even was a guy. I think he was an executive at Def Jam. He killed himself on Halloween or Devil's Night, and it was supposedly because they had this information on him. They had him on video. Now they drug them sometimes and blackmail you and say, well, you know, you're gonna sign this contract or else we're gonna drop this tape. Okay. Or if they see the tendencies in you, you know, the stylist usually has gaydar, because they are 9 times out of 10, and the stylist is oftentimes that go-between person between the artist and the artist record company. And the stylist peeps the style of the artist, and will the artist wear this? Can I get them to do that? Will they change in front of me, and all of that? And the stylist,
Man,
yes, and the
keep going.
stylist
I just want to quickly say I could verify that, because one of the interviews I put up was a guy that said the same thing. He said what they did, man, he said with me, it was a stylist, and they'll check you out and they'll be like, hey, why don't you try on these pants? And he said they test you. You know?
Yes, yes. And then there's the third way, just the flat out way. We tell you that, hey, this is a way to get power. In order to conjure or call more powerful spirit guides, quote unquote, to help you out in your album out, you have to do more things that tear and rip the veil in this world. You can't care. You got to really be about it. Be about it or be without it. You really got to go hard. And hey, man, this is what we do. And it's preferred if you go into it willingly. That increases your ability to house a more powerful spirit guide because your will is with it. And they'll tell them that. And if you cut that type of way, and you already have that tendency in you, but now it's dollars behind it, what you think is going to happen? So
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
mhm. And it's all a part of stealing your soul, selling your soul. You can't actually put your soul in a gift box and sign a contract and then send it to somebody. Okay, the selling of your soul is causing you to do things that compromise who you are to your core being and the God thing that God made you to be. That's selling your soul.
That's excellent, man, and thank you for that too, for filling in that gap for us. And I'll throw this one at you too. Somebody in the chat had said, "Help me with my addictions; they're killing me," or something to that effect. And the chat's going really fast. So that's all I could read. But hey, man, that's a tough one. Take it from a guy that gets addicted to all kinds of stuff. I'm one of them, and I've really had to work through that stuff. And again, it really is through faith. It's through reading the word and seeing what God expects from you and like what he wants from you. And of course, we're going to fall. And this is why we're saved by grace is such a great thing, being saved by grace. But you want to keep trying. If you really love God and you really care, these sins hurt you. Like when I've done bad things, it hurts. I mean, it feels good at the time, but then I feel like crap for several days after. And as time went on, I just got tired of that process. So I started
Right.
trying to cut out more of this crap I was getting involved in and more bad stuff, stuff of the world. And that's about your relationship with God, man. The addictions are tough. They're going to come. I mean, the devil seeks to steal, kill, and destroy. He's like a roaring lion, right? He's looking for souls. And he's going to hit you with everything. And this world's so cuckoo and crazy, and people just want to escape. I mean, look at pharmaceutical drugs are off the charts with people, depression and everything else. Yeah, man, you need to maybe get back into the word, pray. When you pray, also, don't just say the words up to a ceiling. I mean, realize that you're talking to the creator of everything
That's it.
directly. You and him, man, that's it. And
Right.
believe that he loves you and has your best interest at heart, and he will help you in your life. That's the way, and that'll help you get past your addictions. It may seem the easy road. It'll be a little tough, but if you really care and you listen to your heart, and every time you do that bad stuff, it hurts, you're going to get sick and tired of it. Some people give up. Some people quit life. Some people
Mhm.
just fully get into their addictions and die. I don't want to do that. Again, I'm an addictive type personality. I've known that my whole life. I always have been. And I've mentioned this in shows in the past. I've done about every drug back in the day you could imagine. I even had a really, tell it another time, but a really crazy experience where I smoked crack one time. And this is a long time ago. And I was kind
Get
of
out of here.
trapped into doing it. But anyway, enough about all that. Theo, what do you have on that?
Well, first of all, we will wrestle with the flesh daily. So to that person, I just want to encourage them: don't quit quitting, don't give up, um, and ask. Humble yourself and ask. I think we're so much in a self-help DIY society that we don't even know how to ask for help from one another, let alone from the Father. Ask for help. What do you have to say? You don't have to say anything. I pray a specific way for a specific thing, to because of the legalism involved in that specific thing. But oftentimes when I talk to the Father, I just open up my mouth and talk. And you can do the same. Ask him for help. You know, some people quit cold turkey. I didn't. Everything was gradual for me because I would speak that over myself too. Don't speak that over yourself, brother Kyle. Don't say you have an addicted person. Say I had that. You know,
That's good. Yeah, I agree. That's good. You're right.
but just uh, brother KJ said it better. I couldn't really add much more than that. Ask the Father, and be diligent, because these things are spirits, and they're going to be persistent. You gave them welcome into your temple many times, and like a person who you welcomed into your home many times, they're going to feel at home coming there. It may come at any time, but you have to wrestle with them daily, and the wrestling becomes easier, especially once you know that you cannot do it yourself. You can't do it at all. You give it to the Father. He alone delivers. That would be
Cool, man. That's good. And I saw his says it's Carl Michael is his name, and he said that was who we were talking to. And I hope you're real, Carl. Again, I can never tell. You can't tell, Sometimes they'll start off like this, and then they'll turn and get kooky. But regardless, the message is the same, because there's plenty of people who are suffering with addiction right now, regardless. So that goes out to anybody. And really, that's what it comes down to, man, is you've got to really put your faith in action. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to cover before we go? Again, I don't want to keep you all afternoon. We've been together almost 2 hours. Anything you wanted to, because I think we covered the JesusVSHorus stuff. And guys, again, it's not hard to debunk. If you want to look this up, you can look up a great article called 23 Reasons Why Scholars Know That Jesus Christ is Not a Copy of Pagan Religions. And that was one of my favorite sources I used for my video back in the day, but that's just one of many. It's easy to debunk, all right? But regardless of that, anything else you wanted to cover before we go?
I just wanted to, I guess, just leave some information in case anyone wants to contact me for prayer or counsel. You can do so at brother, BROTHER, min, Theo, THEO, all one word, brothermintheo at gmail.com. Feel free to drop me a line anytime. And to those who are still struggling with these things, it's one of the things that I feel the Father gave me this platform to do, was to deal with you, okay? Because I was in the same place too. I was firmly against know are true today, and I had to come there a certain way. So I recommend that you just look through the videos. One that comes offhand is one title is Love for the Non-Believers. I think it's a 2-part video where I explain in depth the experience that I had with an extra dimensional entity through my world into my physical reality, and how that particular experience showed me what I now know now. And I've been testing that experience in practical application ministry ever since then. So, tested it many times. I'm not just talking from the side of my neck. And I do appreciate been doing over there on my little channel. And I thank all of you who already listen. I'm really proud of the family that we have over there. And I love you all. I know that sometimes things happen with those of us who have a platform to try to turn people against us. I'm thankful for those who would not let that plan of the adversary work, and overstand. Brother KJ and I, we talked about some things. We talked about everything. All of it wasn't for the air, okay? But I know and believe that he's square. If I didn't think he was, I wouldn't be here. And I want to thank you, brother KJ, again for explaining some things to me that I wanted more information on, and for inviting me back. And I really enjoyed this chat, and I hope that we can continue to do area of fighting the good fight of faith by defending the faith against these attacks, most prominently by the Commissionites and the Egyptologists minded folks, from saying that original story or whatnot. So, I hope we can continue with that.
Oh man, absolutely. I mean, we'll do it again sometime. I appreciate the words there, man, and the encouragement. And yeah, I'm glad we had some talks too, you know. And you know where I'm at. You and I have been friends for years on here, and it's just nice to get reconnected. It's awesome to have you back on one of the shows. We'll definitely do another one, like, soon. We'll find another good subject we can get on, and we'll do this because the people really love having you on here, and people have requested you in the past, so I knew it'd be a good thing anyway. Plus, I just wanted to talk to you. But man, thank you
Right.
for spending your time with us today, Brother Theo. Man, I really love you. You know that, and we'll
Love you
stay
too,
in
brother.
touch regardless, and we'll do it again. Okay.
All praise and thanks and honor to the true and living God, our Father Yah. And I appreciate you for having me, brother. Much love to you.
All right. Well, take care of yourself, Brother Theo, and we'll talk to you soon. I guess I'll say goodbye to chat real quick, and we'll shut her down. But until next time, take care. Okay.
Okay, you do the same, bro.
Okay. See you later. Okay, guys. So let me go and jump over here to the chat real quick and just say goodbye to everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. It looks like you did. I see a lot of people saying good stuff there, so that's awesome. And especially the new people to Unplugem. Again, please check him out. Unplugem YouTube channel. That's Brother Theo. And as he said, he can minister to you as well, pray for you and everything else. So just thanks again, you guys, for being here. I sometimes will keep rambling on at the end of these shows how much I appreciate you, but I really do. Most importantly, I hope you all learned a little bit of something today and had a good one with that. Okay, so y'all take care. And with I'm going to go and shut her down, or I'll just keep rambling like this. But God bless, guys. And I'll have another show here. Actually, Thursday, I'll be talking to SGT Report, and I got some more videos coming up. Check out my website, by the way, who is KJ Osborne, OZBORNE.com, for videos there that I can't put on YouTube. All right. See you soon.